What's going on, guys? We're back to work on the S10 Xtreme here, doing the engine swap, taking the bad 4.3 out, putting a good 4.3 back in. We pretty much have everything unhooked. A couple little odds and ends to unhook, but I think everything's unplugged, everything's unbolted. We'll get this thing dropped back down and go over, make sure everything's free. Get the engine hoist over here, get it lifted up out of here. I think we made the decision, or I made the decision, to just get that old motor out since it's bad anyway. We're just going to go ahead and finish pulling it out. We're going to set it here beside this one, make a couple comparisons as long as this knock sensor threads are the same. So if I can back this bolt out that holds this sensor in and screw that sensor from that motor into this motor, and a couple other things, make sure all that interchanges, which I think it will. Then we'll just go ahead and change out the exhaust manifolds and the intake. I did get an intake gasket kit here. We'll just go ahead and change that stuff out and use this motor in that truck, even though we'll have to add at that point EGR and secondary air injection. But I think it's just going to be easier to do that than try and change everything from this stick shift motor over to the older body. So we'll just use the electronics off that truck. So we also are getting parts coming in. We're going to do a small diesel build. We've got a customer who wanted some more sound and power, so we got a programmer. We're getting the exhaust is still coming in, and we're doing the air intake too. Nothing too major, but just a nice little update on his truck. As you can see, we're just kind of flying through different projects and stuff here, bringing different jobs in and out. So we haven't forgotten, again, I hate to keep saying it, we haven't forgotten Project LS Xtreme, but we have to get these other jobs in and out so that we can keep going on this, but we're still working on it. Got our engine lift, hoist, whatever you want to call it, cherry picker, all hooked up here. To make it easier, you don't absolutely have to, but especially with one guy, it's easier to just pull the hood and get it out of your way. Lets more light in there too. So we're going to go ahead and remove the hood. Now, to get the hood off, you do have to pull these little cowl plastic pieces off. Once you pull them off, there's one bolt per side at the hood. This is technically your hood hinge. So we'll pop these off and the hood will lift right off after we remove a ground strap and the washer fluid hose. With the hood off and out of the way, actually, you can see so much more light gets down in there. You can see exactly what's going on, and we have room to lift the motor straight up out without hitting the hood. So probably should have did this to begin with, but it's off now, so let's get this motor out. Guys, there it is, up in the air, out of the truck. We have our fuel lines, but they're just hanging here. It's easier to pull them. There's a clamp on the back of the head, especially with the EGR. The bolt is right behind the EGR pipe, so it's easier just to pull them out. They're tapered back, so they come out pretty easy with the motor, so no big issue there. Now this happens on pretty much every 4.3 S10 I pull apart. The motor mounts just fail on these things. As you can see, they fall right out. When they're in there, they have this little lock tab that kind of interlocks it, but however they attach this rubber to the metal just fails and they end up falling right off. We'll get this thing pushed over next to that motor and compare the two and make sure it's going to be usable for us. And there's the empty hole where the motor used to be. Now's the perfect time to clean that engine compartment up. Not sure how far we'll go detailing it, but we should probably do a little bit while we're there. These upper control arms, of course, we just made a video on how to change them. They actually don't look bad. The bushings look pretty decent, so I think we're going to leave these. But now would be definitely the best time to change them also. But obviously we can do it later if we have to, and right now they look pretty good, so I think we're going to leave them. All right, now it's time to see if we can make these two interchange. We got 7/8 wrench on there. Seems to fit nice. Back this sensor out. We'll get the other sensor unbolted and see if this threads in. If it threads in, we should be good. We're 13 millimeter on this one. Get this backed out. And I can tell you right away it's not gonna fit. So this bolt is way smaller than the thread on this sensor. So that's not gonna work. So that's an issue. Alright, so under further investigation, it seems like the blocks themselves are the same between these two motors. This is a 2003. Yes, this is 2003, which is an X VIN. This is a 2000, which is a W VIN. The blocks are the same. Of course, this drilled and tapped hole is smaller in the X code or 03. It looks like it can be drilled and tapped. It's a blind hole. It doesn't go anywhere. It just the knock sensor just actually kind of listens for sounds. So it appears that this can be drilled and tapped, and if you look in there, it's actually countersunk to the size it needs to be anyway, the bigger size. You can see that one. It appears identical except for the size they drilled and tapped it. So we should be able to drill and tap for this to go in there. We should be good there. Of course, we do need to change the exhaust manifolds because this motor had EGR and secondary air injection, which that didn't, so we need to change the exhaust manifolds. We're underway here changing everything over. We got the exhaust manifolds off. All the wiring harness is now off of this motor. This is actually the one we're using. It still has to be stripped down. Of course, exhaust manifolds are off. This one, the intake's off. Intake's sitting there. This is the intake we're going to use. As you can see, it's got the EGR valve and stuff like that. So just a matter of swapping all this stuff over. As you can see, the inside of these 4.3s, there is a balance shaft that runs through there. They are roller cam also. So not sure how far we'll get on this tonight. I got this exhaust manifold put back on. Did get one new motor mount on. I had that here. The other side on both of these motors, both of the motor mounts were broke. So I will have to pick up another new one for this side. And while we're right here, probably should just go ahead and replace the valve cover gaskets also. Of course, the intake still has to come off this. All right, guys, we got a fair amount done. We got the exhaust manifolds back on. We got the intake pulled off. We got a giant mess in here is what we got. But we started cleaning up the intake. I see a couple things I don't really like, but can't really do much about them. Just got to go with it. Someone's definitely been in here and used way too much RTV everywhere. So we got to clean all that up. And it's just a matter of dealing with what we got, making the best of it. I'm, like I said, going to try and reseal this as much as possible. This motor's not super clean inside. I've seen worse, but I've definitely seen better. So it did sound good, and it did have decent oil pressure, everything like that. So we're just gonna trust that this is good for now and just keep going. But anyway, we're gonna call it there. Thanks for tuning in. Have a good day.